It's Mean Girls turned real-life cybercrime when a group of snotty middle school girls from a wealthy Philadelphia suburb create dozens of fake TikTok accounts to terrorize their unsuspecting teachers. Some of the teachers are now allegedly so rattled they're either filing charges or considering leaving the teaching profession altogether.
And not only did the Mean Girls fill the fake accounts with shockingly defamatory posts that painted the teachers as pedophiles, racist, homophobes, and adulterers, but hundreds of the teens at the school joined in, creating what the New York Times called the first known TikTok attack of its kind.
How did this crazy tick troll unfold? Can a grown-ass adult really be the victim of cyberbullying by a perp who still has their baby teeth? And what is the appropriate punishment for a 13-year-old who decides to destroy your life by creating deep fakes?
You'll never believe how this outrageous story ends, so make sure to stick around to the end of the video.
Better bag it and hashtag it, boys. Looks like we got ourselves a cybercrime. Is it better that time?
I love it. I love it. It's great.
So for a while there, it feels like we were hearing all kinds of stuff in the news about cyberbullying and cyberstalking stories, but then they went away for a while. So it's kind of weird that this would be the case to put it back into the zeitgeist and in this bizarre multi-generational context, no less.
Absolutely. And most people don't know this, but there's actually a distinction between cyberbullying and cyberstalking. So, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the official definition of cyberbullying is that bullying is unwanted, aggressive behavior among school-aged children that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. Cyberbullying, this is the interesting fact, affects kids age 17 and under, while cyberstalking is with adults only, meaning ages 18 and over. So in this case, it could be considered a little bit of both.
So how did the timeline of this case unfold?
All right, so let's start with the where and how this all went down. The where is at Great Valley Middle School in the idyllic suburb of Malvern, Pennsylvania. It is a wealthy suburb in Chester County. It's considered upper class, tiny town. 3,500 residents, less than an hour drive west of Philly.
Some more facts here. Great Valley Middle School is this highly rated middle school serving just over 1,000 students. There are roughly 80 teachers working at the school, and the student-to-teacher ratio is just 13-1. So these kids really knew the teachers, they really knew each other, so this probably hit pretty close to home. So who were these students, and who were their teachers?
7th and 8th graders from the Great Valley Middle School. They're about 12, 13, 14 years old. And then next we have the teachers, all 20 of them. Well, actually, according to a local news report, 19 teachers, 1 custodian.
Bad move. You never mess with the custodian. Do they not know that?
Following a broom around after shitheads like you for the last 8 years, I've learned a couple of things.
And just want to say we did reach out to the teachers for interview, but unfortunately haven't gotten responses back yet. But I think it's clear by the numbers that they probably feel like they were part of this really tight-knit community.
I think that's probably why the teachers felt so betrayed by everything that happened. Okay, so we're going to rewind to sometime in February of this year. That's when social studies teacher, Mr. Whitlock, said he feels an undercurrent in the school hallway. He sees a student holding up their phone in front of a teacher and mouthing the words TikTok.
TikTok. It's so dramatic.
Now, around the same time, it appears the Spanish teacher, Mrs. Motz, also catches wind of something nefarious going on, and soon both the teachers are aware of several fake TikTok accounts claiming to be them. Soon there are at least 22 fake accounts discovered on TikTok.
22 accounts is crazy. I can barely keep track of one. I'm about to hire them to manage my social media. That's crazy.
Now, as an aside, while I was doing research, I also noticed a lot of teachers having accounts on TikTok. They're posting from their school. They're posting about students kind of making jokey videos. I thought that was a no-no. I mean, teachers used to never want their students to see them on social media like they're real people. To me, it's like having your parents follow you. It's just weird. I don't know.
It's okay, Steph's mom. Don't worry about it. You and I can be Facebook friends. It's not a big deal.
Okay. Because it's only Facebook. I mean, that's the thing. Having teachers on TikTok, maybe they're trying to connect with their students. I don't know. It's just weird.
So what kind of stuff did the kids post?
So Some of the posts were benign. There was like images of teachers with captions telling students like memorize your 50 states. But other TikToks were very edgy and they weren't so nice. The Times characterized the more aggressive posts, and I'm going to quote this, rife with pedophilia, innuendo, racist memes, homophobia, and made up sexual hookups among the teachers. But before we even get into that, I'm sure you're probably wondering how real could these accounts have looked if they were made by 13-year-olds, right?
I know, it's like, hello, fellow adults.
Hello, fellow adult.
Beyond that, how are the kids even able to sign up for the accounts in the first place? Like, don't you have to confirm email addresses and things like that? How are they even able to do it?
And that's kind of one of the more fascinating parts of the story because they did do it. They're like 13-year-olds going on 30 and savvy enough to take the teacher's profile photos and work emails directly from the school's website to make the accounts, even though technically that's illegal. But even more outrageous, this is where it gets pretty obnoxious. The kids used personal family photos taken from the teacher's social media accounts, the real ones, such as Facebook, cropping, cutting, pasting photos, then superimposing text, basically making memes. And I mean, I guess we can feel relieved that they didn't use AI to create more realistic deepfakes, right?
Yeah, there was that crazy case out of New Jersey where the high school boys actually used deepfakes to create sexual imagery of their female classmates, right? That really riled up the whole school.
Yes, it's really disturbing. And I'm not sure if you remember, but there was another case with a mean mom from a few years ago that also involved AI. And the mother, ironically, also in Pennsylvania, was busted for creating deep fakes using AI of her daughter's high school cheerleading rival, showing the girl naked, smoking weed, and drinking at a party. And then she actually sent the pictures to a coach to try to get her kicked off the team. I mean, that's pretty savage.
That is... Beep that, please.
Yeah, so poor Spanish teacher, Mrs. Motz, she found her fake profile. The kids combined text with a real photo of her at the beach that they took off social media. She was with her husband in the picture and their young children, and they created a meme. The text, which of course was written in Spanish, how clever of them, and it said, "Do you like to touch kids?" And the answer, sí. So that's Mrs. Motz, but then we have the social studies teacher and student council advisor, Mr. Whitlock. The degenerates, they took a picture of him from his wedding, no less, in a church with his wife cropped out, captioned it with the name of a kid from the student council, implying that the teacher had married him instead, and also included the words in the meme, "I'm going to touch you."
It is so classic high school bullying, isn't it?
It is. And I guess it's kind of like, how you write stuff in the bathroom walls, but now it's online. There was a lot of other posts that were sexualized. One pasted the heads of 2 male teachers on naked bodies in bed together. Obviously, that was unrealistic. But the kids also made the fake teacher accounts follow each other and then hit on each other in the comments. So it was just a whole hot mess of stuff.
Imagine if they hadn't found the fake accounts when they did, and if it had gotten out beyond the school, how that could have affected the teachers' lives. I mean, they could have lost jobs, reputations, they could have had their home lives destroyed, their own kids could have gotten bullied in school. It was a really small town, and I think the potential fallout could have been really huge.
And not only that, but hundreds of students started joining in. So even though only a few of them made the TikToks, hundreds of students commented, liked, and shared. So, this stuff really got spread all over the place. Not to mention the psychological toll it had on these teachers. A lot of them were really, really just shaken up by the whole situation.
Oh, yeah. So what were the teachers' reactions when they did find out about the accounts?
Again, the most heartbreaking was Mrs. Motz, who said, she had felt kicked in the stomach and deflated. English teacher, Mrs. Skiblia, she was a bit more forgiving. She was quoted as saying, "Many of my students spend hours and hours on TikTok, and I think it's just desensitized them to the fact that we are real people."
What happened with the Mean Girls when it was discovered that they were responsible and they were outed for orchestrating the whole thing? Did they get in trouble?
Well, let's just say that, the remorse factor was seriously lacking for these girls. In fact, the girls responded to the scandal by making and I'm going to say this in quote, an apology video on TikTok. But get this, they actually posted the video on one of the fake teacher accounts that they made.
The old put the fire out with more gasoline strategy. It's a bold move.
And it gets even more crazy here because in the sorry, not so sorry video, the girls claimed, all a joke and that the teachers were just overreacting. In fact, I have a quote here. It says, "We never meant for it to get this far. Obviously, I never wanted to get suspended." And she was complaining because she actually got suspended on her birthday. Poor thing.
Oh, I suspended on my birthday. That's so self-absorbed.
This gets even more obnoxious. The other girl just simply said, "Move on, learn to joke. I'm 13 years old and you're like effing 40 going on 50.
Do we think these kids are really all that evil, or do we just chalk this up to dumb things kids do because the prefrontal cortex isn't developed yet? Like, what do we think?
There was also no motive mentioned. So yeah, I guess you could chalk it up to kids just being stupid. It's hard to imagine they really understand how this could affect them long term though. Right now the kids' identities and specifically the two mean girl ringleaders, are being protected because they're under the age of 17. But what happens when someone decides to dox them, reveals their identities online, and then they're applying to college, they're trying to get their first jobs? We already know in cancel culture, this stuff happens all the time. And, they're going to find themselves blacklisted and passed over for the incident, I'm sure, at one point in their lives.
Was there an official school response about the incident?
Apparently, back in April, they made the kids watch a video entitled "Sticks and Stones, Staying Smart and Safe Online."
Oh my God.
Because school movies are always where you learn most of your information. The principal had already sent out 2 letters to the parents, explaining the situation and that the school hands were tied because of free speech and because the incident happened off campus. The school announced a grand plan to solve the issue by involving the community, holding an assembly, and also the teachers actually have been pushing to do a new concept known as digital citizenship. And it's basically, advocating for responsible and safe technology use and teaching the kids how to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure all the kids are taking that very seriously.
Yes. Oh, yes. There was also a big school board meeting that was attended by 200 parents over the summer. I don't mean to make this comical, but the teachers, they had all marched in wearing blue, which were the school colors, to show sign of solidarity, presenting a united front to the community, in front of all the parents. And the school said it would support the teachers, with any legal action that they may take. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's still really unfolding, I think.
Can you even press charges against a 12-year-old? And on what grounds?
Yeah, that's a tough one because some of the teachers have shown a definite interest in wanting to sue some of the parents of these kids. And, a jury would probably side with the teachers for sure. But the thing is that could also set a precedent that parents could be sued for the actions of their children. And I'm not sure that's necessarily the right thing to do in every situation. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's still really unfolding, I think.
Did TikTok ever weigh in or remove any of the fake accounts?
A TikTok spokesperson who actually responded to the Times basically just read off part of the guidelines that said, in an impersonation case, a US-based security team validates ID information, such as a driver's license or passport, and then deletes the data. But again, we found out that the teachers reported the fake accounts and, they weren't removed until the Times actually contacted them. I mean, either way, whether the TikTok accounts were taken offline or not, most of the teachers, said they just stopped using social media altogether, for being afraid that the students would start stealing pictures or their comments off and use it to make, memes against them. The teacher said even went so far as to say they were afraid of even calling on kids in class for fear that the kids would retaliate against them. One of the moms that had showed up at the school board meeting over the summer talked about her daughter being bullied for 5 years by mean girls at the same Great Valley school. And part of that bullying was kids telling the girl to kill herself online. I mean, that's tragic. So I know we're having fun, but this stuff really does matter, even in a broader sense. The effect on society from the story is also something to consider. We speak about ramifications. What about the possibility of copycat cases popping up? I wouldn't be surprised if this thing actually becomes its own TikTok challenge. Could you imagine?
And also, what about the teaching industry as a whole? I know there are lots of cities across the country that are actually just struggling fundamentally to find teachers to fill open positions. And this sort of thing does not help people go into the industry and staff those jobs.
The teacher shortage is a crisis across the country. Teachers are burnt out. They're completely disillusioned, with the hostility and the violence they have to put up with from the kids, and those shortages are happening, from coast to coast, so much so that the U.S. Department of Education, I think just a couple of months ago, dumped $122 billion into new initiatives to try to get people to go into the teaching profession. I guess kids in middle school are considered, the consensus across the country, that they are the worst age group to deal with. A local blog called Chester County Ramblings, which is from that area, wrote that there was major problems with those 8th and 9th graders, especially girls. So bad that they had described this fight that had broken out at one of the football games. And the blog said, I'm going to quote this, actual clumps of hair being ripped from scalps and utter craziness.
Oh my God.
Police and ambulance called to the scene. Now, no minor is allowed to attend a high school football game without a parent unless they're actually a football player.
Insane.
What the heck were they fighting about?
Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
So what is the status of the case today?
So earlier this summer, the mean girls went back on TikTok, keeping the scandal going. But like any good criminals, they say they've learned from their mistakes and they have evolved. Basically saying they're back, they're going to be posting again, all at the beginning of the next school year, and they're going to make all their videos private this time because that way the school can't do anything to punish them.
I mean, unfortunately, sometimes in cases like this, the best justice that you're going to get is from the comment section online. We pulled some quotes, and I just wanted to read them here to see what the people of the internet had to say about this. So let's just read through some of our top favorites here.
Yes.
Okay, all right, here we go. The joys of teaching 13-year-olds. Talk your college-age family members out of becoming teachers. Yeah. Other people's children continue to be the best form of birth control advertising. That's my favorite one so far.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here's a good one. Burn the internet. Free speech and expression doesn't mean no consequences for being an asshole. I mean, in this case, it seems like it might actually. Middle school kids are doubtless the most malevolent form of life on the planet. That's a good one. Yeah. Even a symbolic suit that shows the little shits defamed you would be very important going forward. Something that's on the public record that anybody can look up. Okay. I left teaching in 1992 to become a dental hygienist. Best decision I've ever made.
That was one of my favorites, I have to say.
Yeah, she sees less blood. And finally, someone has some kind thoughts here, apparently. So, sure, it's possible all involved are budding sociopaths with shit parents. But it's also possible that they are children who failed at things they are naturally bad at, while bandwagoning with their peers, but are still redeemable and teachable.
Aw, I doubt it. And I just want to add, too, that I think there was something like 1,300 comments on the New York Times article. I mean, people are in an uproar about this. They are really passionate about this and are pissed.
Well, before we go, I just want to give our viewers tips about what they can do if they ever find themselves the victim of cyberbullying.
Yes. So, obviously, if you are in a school, you should talk to, the educators, you tell your parents. But, not all of us are in middle school anymore. So we might be at work and things like that happen. So you want to first report the incident to your HR department. And then if you think further action is warranted where nothing's being done, contact your local police. Alternatively, you can visit the National Cybersecurity Alliance at staysafe.online.org/resources/cyberbullying. That website provides links on how to report cyberbullying on more than a dozen social media and gaming platforms, including TikTok. It'll give you the links to do that. And the site also provides a downloadable anti-cyberbullying education and awareness toolkit.
And if you just want to learn more about cyberbullying and the steps you can take to prevent it or minimize impact, go to the government website, stopbullying.gov.
Until next time, remember, we are your front row seat to the world of digital deception.
Always be cyber aware and protect yourself online. Thanks, and see you next time.